The glitch, the inconvenient, the divergent, the string of junk code, the stubborn apple that falls nowhere near the tree or the forest. Be the fool, the bonehead, the idiot in the room. Let them shake their groupthink heads at you. Let them be ashamed of you, embarrassed of you, pissed off at you. They will call you names and you must let them. Let them jeer, let them point, let them laugh. Be resistant to their mockery. Be the fodder for their jokes. Be a magnificent failure in their eyes. A tiger does not lose sleep over the opinion of sheep. Go ahead, be the scar tissue of their worldview, their normality. They will loathe you. They will fear you. They'll wish they were you.
Alright, I'm watching YouTube here and going through a few videos and finding some stuff, you know, not just stuff about feminism, but I watch about a lot of things, but this particular one has me kind of, wow. Because this channel, Dr. Hope I'm pronouncing this right, Dr. Shane. 36 stupid feminist questions answered. And the one coming up here is one we should take note of.
Male behavior, or that only women get told not to swear.
Why is it your first instinct to doubt women who have been sexually violated or raped?
Maybe if false rape accusations weren't systemically encouraged by feminism, we wouldn't have a problem. Notice how this question is phrased. To doubt women who have been sexually violated or raped. The more salient question would be, why do you doubt women who claim to have been sexually violated or raped? And the answer is because we have this thing called the presumption of innocence. That means a person who is accused of a crime is innocent until proven guilty. So it's not my first instinct to doubt, it's my moral imperative to doubt until evidence is forthcoming. You wouldn't put somebody in jail just because somebody accused them of murder, nor would you put them in jail just because somebody accused them of theft, nor would you put them in jail because somebody accused them of any other crime. So why should accusations of rape be held to a different standard? This really isn't a difficult concept to understand, and it both baffles me and disturbs me how often I see feminists failing to grasp this. There are people who claim to fight for social justice. You really don't understand how justice works, do you? See, a man who is accused of rape will have his life ruined. That's not even only if he is convicted. The mere accusation is enough to cost him his job, his relationships, his educational and career prospects, his home, his reputation, and so on. If a woman wants to ruin a man's life, all she has to do is accuse him of raping her, and he will be put through the ringer by law enforcement and the media, and even if he is found not guilty, the damage will have already been done, and the woman who made the false accusation will get away scot-free. Really, it astonishes me that even after what happened at Duke and the University of Virginia that you're still asking this question. Furthermore, feminists have abused the word rape to the point where it's lost all meaning. Everything is rape. It's gotten to the point where if a woman claims she was raped, I have to wonder if she means a guy actually forcibly put his penis in her, or if she had consensual sex and just decided to call it rape when she decided she regretted it the next morning, or if she's merely complaining that a guy looked at her in a way that made her feel uncomfortable. I mean, what even is rape at this point? According to some feminists, it's rape if a man changes positions during sex without forewarning. It's rape if your boyfriend breaks up with you because you cheated on him. It's rape if you overhear somebody calling somebody else a slut.
I got raped when my mother called someone else's daughter a slut.
Really, it's your own damn fault that people are becoming increasingly reluctant to believe rape accusations because you have expanded the definition so broadly that nobody even knows when you're really talking about rape anymore. You did this, you asked for it, and now you have buyer's remorse. Now let me pose a question to you. Why is it your first instinct to doubt when a man says he was sexually violated or raped by a woman?
Why do you assume a woman's angry because she's on her period?
Now that was a pretty good question about rape and all that, and that answer he gave, because I know firsthand how easy it is to get sent to jail for rape, sexual assault, and falsely too. I was sent to jail falsely for a rape that never happened, for a murder that never happened. had that, and I was so easily convicted because of the accusation of sexual assault. And yes, this Dr. Sham, whatever, whoever he is right. That as soon as you accuse somebody, their life is ruined. Simply because of the accusation, whether he gets sent to jail, found guilty or not. That man's life is ruined simply because of the accusation.
A promising college football player's life dreams shattered as he was falsely accused of rape. His accuser, 19-year-old Nikki Ovino, told police that she went to a party where two football players forced her to have sex in a bathroom. She later admitted that she had sex willingly and was afraid that if she admitted that, another student wouldn't want to date her. Malik St. Hilaire speaks out here exclusively tonight for the first time about the case. But first, Trace Gallagher live in our West Coast newsroom with the backstory here. Hi, Trace.
Hi, Martha. At the time, Nikki Uvino was attending Sacred Heart University in Fairfield, Connecticut. She claimed the incident happened at an off-campus party, that two Sacred Heart football players pulled her into a bathroom, took turns holding her down, and sexually assaulted her. Uvino claims she repeatedly told the men she didn't want to be there, that she had friends waiting for her outside, and to please let her go. Both men admitted having sex with her, but said it was consensual. The players were not arrested, but one lost his scholarship, and both say they were pressured to leave school while they awaited disciplinary action. Then Nikki Uvino drastically changed her story, admitting in a sworn statement that she made the whole thing up because, quote, it was the first thing that came to mind and she didn't want to lose another male student as a friend and potential boyfriend. The document goes on to say Uvino hoped that when the other student heard the allegation, it would, quote, make him angry and sympathetic to her. Uvino was sentenced to a year in jail for falsely reporting an incident and interfering with police. Malik St. Hilaire, one of the players wrongly accused, says he spent 18 months trying to keep his name out of the news, but finally he felt compelled to appear at the sentencing to talk about the significance of Uvino's actions. Watch.
My life has been altered and shaped in ways that nobody here could have imagined. I just hope that, she knows what she's done. The fact that my life will never be the same. Like, I have anxiety, I have, PTSD from this.
So there's the case of Nikki Uvino. She had consensual sex with two men in a bathroom. And then she claims it was rape for the sole reason that she wanted to keep her options open with another man to be her boyfriend and her friend. Now look at this case of Gemma Beale. Whatever state this was in the United States, this Gemma Beale claimed that over a 3-year period, in 4 different instances, that she was raped by 15 guys, one of whom was sent to jail wrongly for 7 years. But nobody's screaming up in arms about this kind of thing. Nikki Uvino got convicted for perjury and stuff too, but she only got a year, maybe 2, for destroying 2 young men's lives. This Gemma Beale ruined the lives of 15 men for things that never happened. How is one supposed to believe in feminism? believe in justice when things like this continue to happen. I'm not saying rapes don't happen, because they do, but when you hear stories like this, it takes away from the moral fiber of society, because society seems willing to send men to jail on false allegations as much as actual crimes of rape. Because today, in today's feminism, today's society, feminism made it a crime to be a man.
Is anyone else furious about this? The Globe and Mail ran an article on March 25th titled, "Court Not Arbiter of Truth, Lucy Decatur's Lawyer Says." Actually, Jillian, it is. The court is the arbiter of truth. You're a lawyer. You should either recognize that or be disbarred. Jillian's main complaint is that because Ghomeshi didn't have to testify, the court only heard one side of the story. And apparently that is unfair. Well, Jillian, the only side of the story the court heard was the women's side, and their story turned out to be riddled with lies. Holes so big you could drive a yellow Volkswagen Beetle through them. Jillian would have us believe that only Ghomeshi got to tell his story in court, while the actual one-sidedness was the opposite. The voices of women were the only voices heard in this trial, and they were heard to be lying. The reality here is that the women were caught being so deceptive, Ghomeshi didn't have to testify. He didn't have to tell his side of the story. Go back to law school, Jillian. The CBC aired interviews with all three women on the National, and I found their coverage to be responsibly done, aside from calling the women victims at the beginning. They mixed the women's statements equally with findings of the judge that the women were caught lying under oath and why they were found to be not credible. When airing footage of women who have been judged not credible in a court of law, it's important to keep reminding the audience that they are liars whose testimony should be given no weight. The CBC did that fairly well. One of the things they captured on film in the National was the third witness admitting that they'd acted maliciously.
Aired 5,000 Facebook and text messages. Some of the snippets read out in court took aim at Ghomeshi. It was a plank for the defense to suggest collusion.
If we were colluding to do something, say take his money or try and hurt him, I can understand. But all we wanted, really, if you heard what we said back and forth, really what it comes down to is we just wanted him to feel a little bit of humiliation. That's it. That's it.
Pressing criminal charges in order to humiliate someone is malicious. The other.
So there we have three cases. Nikki Ovino, Gemma Beal, and the Ghomeshi situation. All these women lied, made up stories, made up false allegations of rape against men. Ovino said it was to keep options open with another man after sleeping with two others, having sex with two others. Gemma Beal just did it for attention. And these women in the Ghomeshi situation did it to humiliate him. Destroy a man's life simply to humiliate him. Well, he succeeded. But now, you see, the criminal courts in Canada, in the Gomesi situation, they did work because he had a lawyer to bring out these lies, to show the court that these women are lying and that no crime of sexual assault or rape happened. These women, at least the United States, had 2 prosecutors with enough integrity to see those cases for what they were. Fabricated lies brought forth by women. And they properly charged them with criminal offenses associated with perjury and obstruction of justice and the like. And that's a good thing when you have integrity like that. But in the long run, the damage has been done to these men. In the end, the damage has been done. So, but the fact remains that these prosecutors had integrity enough in themselves not to allow these women to lie and held them accountable, let alone responsible for their actions, their crime of perjury, their crime of obstruction of justice. But in the end, these men's lives have been ruined in many ways. What the feminists did here was, while they were all happy while the case was going on and he was arrested and he's going to trial and everybody's happy, yeah. When the system worked, feminism cried foul. And drove the force, the final force. They drove the force behind what Canada did. And what Canada did was they created Bill C-51. And what Bill C-51 does, it changes the rules within the criminal court where it applies to cases of sexual assault. So it took sexual assault and put it into its own category. But I'll tell you what Bill C-51 did. It did more than these 3 things I'm gonna say here. What Bill C-51 did, it stripped the defendant, which will be men, so it strips defendants of their right to a full and proper defense, is what it does. First thing. 2, it creates a court environment of reverse disclosure. And 3, it will compound delays that exist within the criminal court system in this country. So let's take each one. It's pretty simple about full and proper defense. When you see when you're not allowed to cross-examine any part of the complainant's claims, when you're not allowed to put evidence contradicting those same claims, you will not have a full and proper defense. And there's all offshooting ways on this is done. But the main way this is done is through reverse disclosure. And this is what reverse disclosure is. In any, what's now going to be labeled as normal, in any normal criminal court proceeding, the Crown Attorney must disclose all evidence to the defense. Give their evidence that they're going to present that they claim is going to prove guilt. Give it over to the defense so they can comb it over, go through it, poke holes and to test if it has its validity. And that's what happened in Ghomeshi. His lawyer was able to put on a full and proper defense of Ghomeshi, which brought out these lies and these crimes of perjury and obstruction of justice. In reverse disclosure, under Bill C-51, a defendant must turn over his evidence to the Crown. And that evidence will be shown to the complainant for the purpose of allowing the complainant to put on a more plausible story. In other words, to lie. Now, within this bill, it's been pointed out that a defendant, via application and delay in their own trial, they can apply to another court to have the defense evidence reviewed in terms of admissibility. Will it be allowed in the trial? Now, the problem with this is that I can see at the top of my head, because I know there are other problems, but that's for legal professionals to determine what those problems. But what I could see right in front of me is that when you apply for a job, when you apply for anything, you can be denied. Just because you apply for something doesn't mean you're going to get it. So whether or not this evidence is whether or not this evidence that the defense wants to bring into the trial is admissible or not, the defense has tipped his hand. So the system forces the defense to tip his hand to the prosecutor and the complainant. So reverse disclosure happens again. The right for a defendant to defend himself against false allegations is now taken away from him a second time. Because you see, when you come to a verdict in any criminal case, these verdicts are determined by the information, the evidence, but it's information presented in front of them. When you eliminate one side and leave on, when you omit evidence, legitimate evidence, and only allow lies to be presented to you, you will believe those lies. You see? Because while while Bill C-51 blankets sexual assault cases, it's said that it's to protect women from being raped and all this kind of stuff, which is not a bad thing. Because it's not, because I agree with that. However, if you're going to allow women to lie, because these cases are always he said, she said, he said, she said. When you take the he said out of the equation, what are you left with? You're left with she said. And that is the only information or evidence that is presented to these criminal proceedings, which will result in wrongful convictions. You see? Because, and society itself, the public is willing to accept that. I am not. Because see, this court environment that Bill 51 created was the same court environment that convicted me way back in 1994. Because no one was allowed to really cross-examine Charles Smith. The weight of Charles Smith's evidence was to be deferred to. So all the evidence, including defense evidence, was removed from the situation in my case for Charles Smith's evidence in favor of that. And his pseudoscience resulted in so many wrongful convictions that to this day, as far as I know, they are still looking into other cases, not just the original 13 that the public heard about. So you see, Bill 51 does not serve justice. It serves injustice, and it serves liars, and it serves feminism that says all men are rapists.
The biggest lie of modern feminism has been its stated goal to overthrow traditional gender roles for both men and women, even while it exhibits a near complete reliance on traditional masculine qualities amongst men of chivalric restraint, deference, and self-sacrifice for women. Over the past month, 2 expressions of anti-male viciousness by women highlighted this cultural hoodwink, though countless other examples might have been chosen. In late September 2019, an Egyptian-American feminist activist named Mona El-Tahawi must have surprised many when, in an interview with Canada's state broadcaster, she declared that the time for female politeness and civility towards men was over. Many of us thought it ended a long time ago. But she went further to claim that girls and women should enact what she called, quote, justifiable violence. And barely able to contain her glee, she outlined a sordid fantasy of vigilante attacks in which, quote, a certain number of men, end quote, would be killed every week until the so-called patriarchy would cease its so-called war on women.
Well, there you have it. Mona El-Tahawi. I hope El-Tahawi. Sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly there. Mona El-Tahawi, a feminist, supports feminism, wants to spread feminism and all this kind of stuff. But this is where feminism is now. A vehicle for hate. El-Tahawi and her supporters have a desire to kill men. All men. Just because we are men. But what's even more disgusting than that in itself is pretty bad. Because what she has done, she's went around the world, spoke internationally to spread this hate speech, to endorse hate crime by way of killing all men. And whether they actually try it or not is not even the point here. she has been given a stage via CBC Radio, ABC News, and wherever else she spread her hate. She's been given a stage to spread this hate. And that's pretty disturbing to think that these venues, these platforms, allowed her to do that. Because you see, she has engaged in hate speech. She is endorsing and condoning hate crime against men. And that amounts to nothing more than a hate crime. This woman is a criminal. A criminal that promotes murderous acts, hateful thoughts, hateful speech. And what they're endorsing is nothing less than genocide of men. Genocide of men. But yet I don't see any authorities from around the world holding her accountable for her actions. And that's a pretty scary thing, because when you sit in silence on something or give such hate a stage to promote, encourage, and endorse this hate, and what does that say about the institutions in society? What are we willing to accept? Because you see, deep down, it doesn't surprise me that she was allowed to do this in Canada, because in itself, genocide has been engaged in by the Canadian government towards Aboriginal people. This kind of thinking has brought about the residential school system. This has brought about the 60s scoop. Etc., etc., which is totally designed to remove Aboriginal people from this land. Because let's face it, genocide is a generational thing. It comes from one generation to the next, inflicting this kind of hate from one generation to the next. And that's where we are now, because this feminism was the driving force behind Bill C-51. Which is designed to put men in jail regardless if they did anything at all. So, where do we go from here? I don't know where to go from here. I don't even know what the hell is going on now with this world, with this country, with our society. I just want to know what the hell is going on. Because I've read some stuff in my day, but where I usually start is by definitions. What is an ideology? You can see it on the screen right there for what it is. And you can see it on the screen what feminism is designed. But is that what feminism is? No, it's not, because feminism does not promote equality. It promotes hate towards men. So it is arbitrary violence. This is what feminism has been reduced to by women like this, Al-Tahawi. Now let's go back to ideology itself, what it means. And what it is, it's an ism, quote unquote ism. And what I am discovering and what I'm finally being awake to is that these isms in our life, feminism, capitalism, socialism, liberalism, Catholicism, whatever ism it is that you follow, it is nothing more than a prison. It keeps you imprisoned. It keeps you single-minded and blind to another's thoughts or opinions. It's narrow. Isms engage in censorship. It gets the followers of that ism to silence themselves. Because as soon as you question the belief in these isms that you follow, as soon as you start questioning it, you'll fall victim to censorship and hatred and ridicule and laughter. So most people don't question these isms out of fear. Fear of reprisal, fear of losing house, job, money, kids, whatever. Because isms are rooted in fear. Keep the subjects, keep the people under that ism doing it to themselves. Accepting it as something that cannot be changed. But it can be changed. Because in this country, this ism of feminism has brought about Bill C-51, which was designed and will be used to falsely put men in jail on false allegations of rape against them, to destroy their lives from lies. Bill C-51 will only create more wrongful convictions than it claims it'll stop. Wrongful convictions are now a standard operating practice within the Canadian legal court system, because it's not a justice system anymore, it's a conviction system. Bill C-51 has brought about pseudo-law practice and pseudo-policing. Just like in my case where they talk about pseudo-science by Charles Smith, Bill C-51 has now brought to the forefront pseudo-law practice, because a crown attorney, a prosecutor, doesn't have to be vigilant or diligent in his job anymore. He just has to bring the charge. Defense lawyers will no longer will be needed in limited fashion, because they won't be able to practice law or make arguments against anything that is brought forth by Bill C-51. They won't be able to do their jobs. And one thing about that I'm finding out about certain types of isms, like Marxism, socialism, communism, that kind of idea, the controlling of the people, controlling of people, is that one aspect of these isms is to get them to police themselves, enforce their laws, and instead of your beliefs, you're enforcing their beliefs and their ways onto the people. And blind followers to any ism only serves to advance someone else's agenda. So you think you're supporting a belief or an adage that is your own, but has that belief been planted there because of this ism? Planted there because you actually believe it, or it's been forced on you out of fear, and it silences you because of this fear on things. It just seems to me that feminism has gone too far. And when you get women calling for the death of all men, that is too far. When you create laws to strip people and use laws as a target to strip those targeted people, strip them of their rights to defend themselves, that's too far. And it makes me ask the question, what the hell is going on? Why are we like this? Is this where we really want society to go? To live in this kind of hate?
And until we have a society and a governmental structure system that comes from empathy and a sense of fairness and justice for all, and not ideology, the one-stop shop that's supposed to fit everything, then nothing's going to change. Going from cartelism to socialism and back to cartelism and back to socialism, it's a tennis match going nowhere except in the same direction we've always gone. We don't need a change of ideology. We need a shift in consciousness. A shift in consciousness that takes people from being woke to being awake. Albert Einstein once said that you can't solve problems with the same level of consciousness that created them. The capitalist, cartelist, socialist, communist tennis match are different expressions of the same consciousness, and thus will never solve the problems that they have both created. I say to young people, those in history have fallen for what you're falling for now. Don't repeat it, for your sakes, not mine.